Hey, everybody out there in TV land. Welcome to my show, syllaBLISS or syllaBUST. Of course, I'm your host, the fake professor. And on my show, syllaBLISS or syllaBUST, I comb through college syllabi from across the nation. Because after teaching college for nearly 2 decades, five-time teacher of the year, I realized that I developed only one skill, and that is the ability to look at college syllabi, read between the lines, and tell you, my trusty viewers slash subscribers, if students in that class can expect a blissful experience or if they are straight up effing screwed. Now, this is all in good fun. It's not meant to be mean-spirited, and these are just stylistic differences. And most importantly, we, and that's the royal we, are only using syllabi in the public domain. And let me just say that teaching college in 2025 is very, very challenging, particularly, especially 2025. So, who are we covering today? Well, we're sticking with the theater slash acting syllabi because I'm loving these. Find them very fascinating. We've seen some great ones, not so great ones. And we're sticking in the great state of Texas. So today we're going to take a look at an acting syllabus fall 2025 from the best way, Stephen F. Austin State University. Okay, here we go. Stephen F. Austin State University in Texas, fall 2025, beginning acting. Let's take a look right out of the gate. 9-page syllabus, perfect length, right in the sweet spot. Like to see that. Oh, yeah, okay. I haven't seen this language in a while. We used to do this in the past. This syllabus is a contract. And not really, but in the past, it was not uncommon for faculty to try to get their students to sign the syllabus like a contract, basically saying, you've read these, you're signing, you know it. So if you say, hey, I didn't know, no, you signed the contract. By accepting this syllabus, you are agreeing to the terms for grading, attendance, participation, and workload as set out herein. The syllabus is subject to change at my discretion as the instructor, and by collective consensus of the class if appropriate. Okay. What are you going to say? The students have no choice but to accept your contract. And so that kind of doesn't really make it necessarily a contract, basically saying, if you accept this, you can take my class. And if you don't, you cannot. So I never really liked this idea of pretending that this was a contract because it is not. Course objective. Welcome, actors. I like that. This course is an intro to the elemental principles of acting. Okay. I don't know why they capitalize that, but that's fine. The aim is not technical mastery, but rather to approach the building blocks of performance as an art and craft through play and practice. Okay, that's all good. Not really super interested in course objectives. Let's keep going here. Student learning outcomes, nothing interesting there. Course schedule. Okay, let's take a look at this. We always like when there's a chart or a graph that has the whole semester on one page because, of course, that's the page students are going to go to the most. Because, of course, a syllabus is a reference for students when they're panicked and need to find the answer to a question or problem solve. So when they can do that easily or efficiently, that's a sign of a good syllabus. Now, I like the way that they're organizing this. This looks pretty good. Obviously, this is going to bleed into the second page. And it looks like now a third page. Oh, and a fourth page. Okay. So half of this syllabus is the chart or graph or whatever you want to say, table with the breakdown here. That really could have been 1 page, 2 pages at most. Look at this. There's no reason why all of this needs to be this big whatsoever. No reason. Complete waste of space. Don't like that. Okay. Now we're getting into the instructor's stuff. Classroom attendance and participation. Acting and performing is doing. We learn by doing. I like that. Therefore, attendance and participation are mandatory. I think that's pretty straightforward. Good way of saying that. There's no other way around it. You got to be here. You got to do it. You can't get the notes from a friend. Doesn't work that way in acting. Your grade in this course is absolutely dependent on your presence and contributions in the classrooms. In other words, show up. Okay. I think as a student, you will accept this one time being screamed at your by the syllabus, right? All caps, exclamation. We get it. You're emphasizing we have to be there. If you keep screaming at me as a student, I'm not going to like it. Okay. Let's see if this instructor keeps screaming at their students. You are allowed 3 absences. These are 3 total absences, no matter the reason: sickness, traffic, mental health day, etc. Any subsequent absence will result in lowering your overall grade by 5%. This is a good policy. Okay. This is what we're looking for. It's objective. You're an adult. Things are going to happen. We recognize that. You can miss a certain amount, just like sick days. You don't have to tell me why. You don't have to lie to me. You don't have to have Chat GPT generate a fake excuse. After 3, you've simply missed too much for the semester. It's reasonable to say that you haven't been there enough. I like it. This is good. Any medical emergencies must be accompanied by a doctor's note. You mean a Chat GPT note? And will be discussed as special circumstances. Family emergencies will also be discussed on a case-by-case basis. 2 late arrivals are equal to 1 absence. Okay, family emergencies will be discussed on a case-by-case basis. This is really tricky, and I don't hate that the instructor is doing this. You can see that now they're setting up all sorts of caveats to their late policy. Medical emergencies, if you have a doctor's note, you're not really giving a limitation on that. So theoretically, a student could be out quite a lot with a doctor's note and say there was no limitation on that in the syllabus. That could present some problems. Family emergencies, case-by-case basis. Again, you're setting yourself up there for conflict. What you're telling a student is if your family emergency is bad enough, you'll get makeup work. What then is this going to do to the student? The student then knows, okay, if I come with a family emergency, I have to make it as horrible as possible. And now you're in a situation where you have to tell somebody that you don't believe their horrible trauma or not. You are now the decider. And that's not where you want to be as an instructor. If you are absent on the day of an in-class presentation, you may make up that project according to my discretion. Again, you don't want to see that. My discretion, that is just opening the door for conflict. The strict attendance policy is a reminder that you are responsible for your health and well-being. Interesting. This strict attendance policy is a reminder that you are responsible for your health and well-being. There are several sources on campus available to you regarding mental, physical health, and time management. I don't know if the attendance policy says that to me. I get what I think they're kind of saying, hey, maybe in the past we've had a lot of students miss stuff for mental health reasons. And I'm trying to tell you, like, we're not allowing that anymore. I think that's kind of what they're saying here. Per departmental standards, you'll automatically receive an F in the course after 10 absences. No problem with that. That's the department rule. This class is highly experiential, so your participation is key. Okay, here we go. You yelled at me again. All caps, exclamation point. I don't want to be yelled at in a syllabus. Participation is defined as willingly contributing. Okay, very nice. Your contributions, attitude, and willingness to volunteer will be assessed throughout the semester. Again, assessing attitude seems very, very problematic and tricky to me. Participation is evaluated in creative assignments, which include but are not limited to this stuff. Okay, required materials. An acting journal for you to take notes. I think that's really cool. We've seen that in other classes. A challenge for the actor is highly recommended reading for this course, but not required. You'll receive excerpts from this text, and reading the rest of the book will help to contextualize. A hard copy of the book is on reserve. Okay, so just as a general rule out there to any instructor, if you say this book is highly recommended but not required, most students are not going to get it. As soon as you say not required, that's all students are looking at. That doesn't make them bad or evil. That makes them humans. They have limited time, limited resources. They have to strategize. They have to figure out how much time they're going to spend on all of the things that they have to do, which is a lot. When you let them know, like, hey, I really like you to do this, but you don't have to. There's going to be a lot of students that otherwise would have that are now not going to. Don't think this is good. Assignments. Okay, theater and actors job quiz, audition monologue. Okay, performance critique, scene performance, final scene, final reflection paper. That all seems pretty reasonable. Extra credit. Opportunities for extra credit may present themselves throughout the semester. Extra credit is a privilege and should not be treated. I this is you just can't do this. You just cannot do this. You cannot create a class where you do not tell students how many points there's going to be. You just can't do that anymore. You cannot say that I just might decide to just add in points to the class or not add in points because I feel like it. I just don't think that flies anymore, and I think that that's really bad. Clothing, you're required to wear black clothing for all movement and acting courses. That seems pretty standard for acting classes. Failure to follow the dress code will result in absence. Makes sense. Be prepared to be barefoot or in socks. Again, that's pretty standard. Hygiene, we will work in contact with each other. Be considerate of everyone in class and make sure you are regularly maintaining your own hygiene. Hey, don't hate it. All right, safety boundaries. Let's see. Sickness. Come to class if you are healthy and well. Please do not come to class if you're sick. Okay, all assignments and contacts will be posted on Brightspace, and you may contact a classmate for notes. With the strict attendance policy, you're responsible for keeping yourself well and healthy. This makes no sense. So don't come to class if you're sick, but there's a strict policy where you're going to miss points. These are totally conflicting policies here, totally problematic. Personal boundaries, there's a certain amount of physical vulnerability that's essential to working with your body. However, vulnerability does not mean pushing yourself beyond a boundary that may cause you physical or mental harm. True. When working with partners, we will always ask permission before engaging in touch. Very nice. Improvisational impulses are not an excuse to cross anyone's boundaries. Very nice. Okay, I'm curious about this. Bravery and risk. No risk, no reward. No doubt. No pain, no gain. Okay. As aggressive. No risk, no reward, no pain, no gain, aggressive. Give me a break. As these phrases sound, they are very applicable to any physical learning process. We are moving our bodies in ways. We will be moving our bodies in ways you have never moved them before. Maybe. This can and most likely will be uncomfortable and scary. Maybe not, especially when working with a new group of people. For some people, it's going to be exhilarating. We can never create a complete safe space because accidents happen. Reasonable. But we can create an environment where we are brave enough to put trust into one another and support ourselves. Makes sense. You will have growing pains and sometimes minor bruising and soreness. What the? Wait. You will have growing pains and sometime minor bruising and soreness. I have never in my life seen a syllabus that says you're going to get minor bruising for taking this class. Wow. These are typical when you engage in any new physical activity. Bruising, I'm not totally sure about that. You will also fall. Well, that causes bruising, that's for sure. But we will learn a lot about how to fall safely and how to recover. Do you mean that like emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, or like we're going to fucking fall here? I will never push anyone to do anything they're uncomfortable. Do you mean like push somebody or like push somebody? However, if you choose not to try something new, you are missing out on the learning experience. You determine your level of participation for that day. Just very conflicting messages here. We're not going to, you're in control, but you got to, just very conflicting. It's up to you how much you want to receive from the class. I can only guide you towards new challenges. Very nice. I know you're special. Addressing harm in the moment, my priority in the class. Um, oh, Lord. By attending this class, you are committing to respecting each person's individual experiences. Stop. That's good enough. Please do not give us a list. This includes, but it's not limited to, race, gender pronouns, sexuality, age, and physical ability. You didn't need to list that. It's 2025. Oh, my Lord. If any boundary, um, verbal or nonverbal, is crossed in any class, we will use the word button to immediately stop anything happening in this class. No questions asked. We'll move on, and we will move on, and you make come to me on your own. This is an editing error, and you may come to me on your own. In the addressing harm section, there is an editing error which makes how you address harm unclear, highly problematic. You can't make mistakes there. When addressing harm, it's just not necessary to give a list of categories. It's just not necessary. People know. When addressing harm, we will speak I statements. I felt blank when you did. Okay, that's very therapeutic. When apologizing for harm caused, you will acknowledge the harm that wow. When apologizing for harm caused, you will acknowledge the harm that you caused and the harm that other people experience. Wow. They are telling you that if somebody says that you harm them, whether you agree it or not, you will acknowledge it because they experienced that. Wow. True apology comes without excuses or justifications. This is a college class. Oh, my Lord. Whether or not you intend to cause harm is irrelevant. Whether or not you intend to cause harm is irrelevant. Whether or not you intend to cause harm is your college instructor just told you, all their students, whether or not you intend to cause harm is irrelevant. The focus is entirely on whether somebody else perceives you as harming them. That is very destructive. Unless prior accommodations have been previously approved, there'd be no cell phones. All right. Course communication, other important items. All right, brave space. Oh, Lord. It is impossible. Okay, well, they've already talked about the safe space. Okay, in order to grow, okay. It's impossible to have a safe space. However, if at any point you feel like somebody harmed you, then that person then is forced to apologize. So that's not a safe space? The essential performance training theory in this class is training for adversity. No, it's not. This is avoiding it at all costs. This means there is no growth without risk. Yes, there is. Courage, bravery, and trust. But we're not being courageous. We are being offended and telling on people. Trusting yourself, trusting the teacher, and trusting the ensemble. All right. It is strategically designed to raise awareness of your habits and challenge your current beliefs about yourself. Your abilities acting in art in general requires an open mind, spirit, body, breath, imagination, and heart. Accordingly, this studio is to be considered a brave space. Above all, be open, take risks, and lead with kindness. And if you offend somebody, you're fucked. Conduct. This course is about opening up, taking risks. All right, we've already said this. Observing your individual strengths and movement, having fun, respect. All right, so just words. Above all, again, lead with kindness, more kindness. But if your kindness offends somebody, then you're screwed and you have to apologize for it. All right, course content. Because theater is a reflection of the world around us, this course may contain performances, exercises, or discussions of content that you may disagree or feel uncomfortable with. Absolutely. And you now can say that you've been harmed by it, and that person has to apologize. This is the nature of live theater. While every attempt will be made to approach this in a respectful and careful manner, it is worth noting that this content can be challenging. And it will be included as deemed appropriate by the instructor. The full spectrum of life is the material from which theater is created, including stuff that offends us. And the instructor department, university service are available to support you. If all right, communicate, academic integrity, weather, great, withheld grade semester grade policies. What? Ordinarily, at the discretion of the instructor of record and with the approval of the academic chair, a grade of WH will be assigned only if the student cannot complete the coursework because, oh, okay. So this, I know, I understand this. Right, this is an incomplete. Okay, this is an incomplete. Student with disabilities, super important. Glad to see some contact information here and a hyperlink. Very nice. Appreciate that. Students with disabilities, I think, is one of the most, if not the most important section. It should be right at the top, way before all of the goofball stuff. This is actually really supporting students. Students' wellness and well-being. Okay, economic resources, totally get that. All right. Is there actually a breakdown of the course at all? Oh, yes, there is. That's right. Oh, yeah, spread way over all these pages. That's right. Okay, folks, here we go. Right. So what do we think about Austin State University? This particular class, beginning acting fall 2025. What do we think? I'm sorry. This is an absolute syllabust. Wow. Really, really some really problematic things. There's just a lot of conflicting messaging being sent to students. A lot of conflicting messaging. There is some clear, like, screaming at students in the syllabus with kind of exclamation and bold letters. Again, suggesting that the professor does not trust the students to actually follow what they're saying and believes that they will only do that if they scream at them in the syllabus. It's very kind of off-putting. But obviously, there's just some really, really problematic policies here. And we've seen now a number of acting syllabi that have handled this quite well. They've really handled this quite well. And this is just, I think, an example of a syllabus that does not handle it well. On the one hand, they're being, very strict about attendance, I think, as all the acting and theater syllabi are, for good reason. But then this one also is leaving the most wiggle room for students to miss it. And in some cases, telling students they should miss it, while at the same time telling them that they're required to be there. If they're not feeling well, the instructor very much wants you not to come to class and puts that in all bold, do not show up. And at the same time tells you that your health is your responsibility. And if you miss too many classes because you're sick, you're going to get a low grade. So this is very confusing, right? There is a lot of, I would say, and then, when it comes to the textbook or the reading, they do this thing where they say, there is a book. I'd really love it if you got it, but it's not required. And so now, again, you really want to hold your students to this high standard. There's something very important you want to share with them, but you're telling them that they simply don't need to get that book. And anyone that knows that's been teaching a long time, when you tell students they don't need the book to get an A in the class, there's going to be a lot of students that don't get that book that otherwise would, because they are just human beings making savvy strategic decisions about how they're going to use their resources. Another thing that was really bad was the extra credit. You cannot tell students there might be extra credit or there might not, and you will just decide if you want to and how many points. In 2025, you cannot have a syllabus where you just tell people, I may just totally change the points in the course if I feel like it. That just doesn't fly anymore. And then lastly, I think while we've seen all of these theater syllabi have to be very careful in how they say, hey, listen, you're in theater. There's going to be some physical interaction. There's going to be scenes about maybe intimacy or sexuality. There's going to be characters that you might have to play or play against that are going to say stuff that's offensive. This is part of theater. You're representing reality. There's offensive things in reality. And while that may bother you or you might not like it, that is a part of what we're doing here. Now, some syllabi have handled that really well. I think this one handles it the worst, because this one says If a student in this class feels that they've been harmed without defining what that is by your words, not your actions, not physically, but if they are psychologically harmed by what you say, then regardless of your intent, you have harmed that person. You are required to apologize and they will not move forward. Meaning, on the one hand, you're telling people, be brave, you have to deal with this stuff. And on the other hand, you're telling, as soon as it bothers you, you can complain about that person. We will stop and we will make them apologize. Entirely based just on your subjective experience of harm, entirely unrelated whatsoever to the intentions of that individual. I find that to be very problematic. So for all those reasons, this one was a real syllabus. That is right? So Stephen F. Austin State University in Texas, beginning acting fall 2025, straight up effing bust. Sorry about them. Anyway, hope you like that one, folks. I'll see you next time. Peace.